Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Innovation Alley. We're your hosts. I'm TowelManPurple.
I'm Bjorn.
And today, Bjorn is going to kick us off. We have two different decks, but we're going to definitely touch base on Murple, Bjorn has been well known for from the beginning of time of this game, and how it has changed to version 2 from post-banning of Hiram. So, Bjorn, take us away and show us what you got.
Right. So, for those that have seen this deck earlier, the biggest changes here are that we have added in both Magic Room and Chernobog's followers, so not just Diablo as the one-cost banish to draw a card. And we have also specifically taken out the Lilo Escape Artist in order to instead play Big Boy Chernobog at the top end. Who, of course, they're not friends. They do different things. Chernobog clears the discard pile, which means that Lilo becomes bad. Or if you do play out your Lilos from the discard pile, then Chernobog suddenly gets even more expensive. So, I think you have to pick. Yeah, I think you have to pick one or the other. And in the the pre-ban meta, I definitely think that the Lilo was the more correct choice. But after the Hiram ban, I feel like there is going to be a lot more steel. And as such, I feel like the power of Chernobog will be needed.
That's a fair assessment.
Yeah. And, also, as long as Calhoun exists, that Lilo that you bring in exerted is just... Ooh,
Yeah, Calhoun definitely keeps that card in check. So...
Not good against the steel decks. They all run Calhoun, so it's just very painful. And also, these 1-drops are actually very good against discard. Right? Chernobog's followers and Magic Room in particular, the newcomers to the deck here, because you can just save them and then activate them whenever you want. So what you can do is don't crack them early. Wait. Play out your hand, get an empty hand, make sure your opponent can't discard anything, they get no value out of Prince John. And then if you need an extra card sometime, just crack one of them, right? Banish your Chernobog's followers, draw a card, play something, banish a broom, draw another card. So basically you can bank the cards in your hand, you can put them on the field, and then later they turn back into cards again. Because if you just keep playing and banishing your Chernobog's followers and Magic Brooms like as soon as you can, then you might risk those extra cards being discarded, and it was for nothing.
Yeah, I agree with that. That makes a lot of sense.
So banking card draw to activate whenever you want is very, very strong against discard. Although, of course, you have to be careful about them being taken out by removal. I mean, that's
right.
Just how it is.
I guess it depends on the version of discard you're playing. So if it's like Emerald Steel, for example, they'll have
Tricky.
Storm, Strength, Cricky, stuff like that. They can help them clear ways.
It does.
And then
everything. Yeah.
If it's Amber Emerald, they'll have cards like Under the Sea. So
of course,
play to your advantage, knowing based on what their color pair is.
So of course, don't sit on them for a million years, but definitely wait for a good opportunity. But you could always just bait out the removal, because if they play things like Strength and Storm on your one cost characters, I mean, that might be good for you if you instead can make a Piglet survive or can make your Pascal survive, right?
Yeah.
Because these 1-drops, I mean, yes, they draw a card, but they only quest for 1, so questing-wise, they're not really a threat. Questing-wise, you're much more worried about a Daisy Duck, right? The Daisy is, of course, a really, really good turn 1 play. Here, still around the 4 daisies, which can also
Applies
be
the most
a
pressure.
Rapunzel trap. Yeah, so, Crab can boost her to be a 4/4 suddenly. And on the 2-drop side, we have the Piglets, quest for 3, especially now when instead of 12 1-drops in the previous version, we're gonna have 16 1-drops. We are so going wide. Even if your 1-drop does not survive and you have a lone little Piglet just sitting there after turn 2, you can totally play 2 characters, no problem, and get Piglet activated.
Yeah, Piglet's another threat. So
yeah, absolutely. Like those are the early questing threats that your opponent has to think about. Like, okay, do I actually want to storm your magic broom, or do I need to storm the Piglet? Right? Get rid of my cards or get rid of my lore. Like the opponent will be sweating because you can really go wide and flood the board with this, and they're not going to have enough removal because nobody plays grab your sword. I mean,
this is true.
No, you don't have to worry about it.
Maybe
just play as many characters as you can.
Maybe a Sapphire Steel player.
Maybe, but I think they're really hurting after both Hiram and Fortis were disappearing. Like they got hit. The Sapphire Steel decks got hit the absolute hardest by this ban, and I feel sorry for them. Like, was Fortisware necessary?
I mean, my opinion is no. I think Popsicle was more important.
But Popsicle is also more fun when you have, of course, like Judy Ops and Nick Wilde, So.
Yeah, you're right.
But yes, the other 2-drop, of course, that probably shouldn't be played on turn 2 is Honeymarin. I mean, it can if you don't have anything better, but usually her ability to gain a lore when there is an exerted character in play will usually only come into play a little bit later in the game. Right. So usually you will play Piglet or just 2 1-drops on turn 2.
Yep.
And then all 3 still have the same, Merlin Crab. If you just want to crab something, we have, many good crab targets. Crab Diablo to get some value and still draw the card. Crab Daisy becomes a 4/4. I mean, you can crab a Magic Broom for a 4/2 if you're desperate, Actually, that's a pretty good play into an opposing Daisy deck. 4/2 takes out a 1/4.
Sure does.
Or if you don't need the crab right on turn 3, which you usually don't, it's usually better to play a White Rose on turn 3 that just gains you a lore and has the same stats, and then save the crab in hand for the crucial turn when you can really do some damage with it.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All that artificial lore gain is very, very good.
Yeah, we have 4 Honeymarin, 4 the White Rose, 4 Merlin Goat. So we basically have 12 ghosts in the deck. 1/5 of the deck. Every 5 cards will just gain you a lore when you play them. It's insane. Right? And sure, you can say, like, well, what about, Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom? That gains you 2 lore. Well, it's uninkable and it's also not a character. So if you play it early on, you lose tempo. These, you can play them early on without losing tempo because they are still bodies on the board. They can quest, they can challenge. They work both early game and mid game and late game. So they are super nice to have. And again, if you're ever been in the situation where like, oh, if I don't get a goat from the top of my deck now, I lose. Well, here you have 3 times the chance of top decking that.
Yes. Finding 1 extra lore is not difficult.
Yeah, or, you might already have 1 goat in hand and you need 1 more. And, oh, look, you also drew a White Rose. So as long as you can ink up to 7, White Rose and goats, 2 extra lore to win the game, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, the Pascal is, the premier quester.
The MVP.
Absolutely MVP. I would say, I mean, I know it's called the Murple because of Mufasa, but honestly, I think Pascal carries this deck a whole lot. Pascal and Genie combined, slightly different for slightly different purposes, but Pascal and Genie are really the MVPs of the deck. They are evasive questers. Pascal quest for 3, Genie quest for 1 less, but draws you a card, so they're both equally great, just slightly different. I run 4 of both of them. They are completely worth it. Yes, they are uninkable. Who cares? They're so good. You never want to ink them anyway, so...
Right, exactly.
What's the
They're
issue?
just the threats of the game.
Yeah. Like there are, I would say in this new meta, there might be, especially because of Diablo coming back, there might be more evasive threats out there, so they might not be as safe as before in questing. However, I mean, as long as they just quest once, they still give you so much value, right? Like they don't need to quest more than once, really. And when they do, if the opponent has to have a specific evasive answer to them, that just complicates things for the opponent. So
Exactly.
even if they get taken out after one quest, they still got the lore and they still needed a very specific answer. They still really disrupted the opponent's plans.
Right. So those are, you have Pascal, Genie, Goat, and then you also play Rapunzel.
Yeah, of course. I think, no Amber deck is complete without Rapunzel. However, I mean, some people might say I'm crazy, but I have cut her down to a 3-of. Because honestly, especially now with even more 1-drops that replace themselves in Shadowbox Followers and Magic Broom, I feel like she's not that needed anymore. Like, the card draw she provides is not always needed, right? Like, and we don't have that many targets for her. Like, the only things with 4 willpower or higher are Daisy Duck, Genie, Belle, Elsa, and herself. If we don't count, of course, the big man Chernabog, but, he's a whole beast of his own, right? So, usually I find that I'm not able to draw cards with Rapunzel. Especially not in Ruby matchup where they never leave damage on anything. They're just gonna take you out in one big swoop if they do.
Right.
But of course, with something like Elsa, or again, like if you challenge something with your Genie, and then if they don't have an evasive answer, Genie will survive for the next turn for you to Rapunzel him. Stuff like that, can make Rapunzel valuable, but honestly, just being a 1/5 the quest for 2, that's 1 more willpower than Daisy Duck, and she's inkable, and she doesn't draw the opponent a card, right?
Yep.
Like, against steel decks, she's just a very good body to have, a very, very good quester, even though, of course, against the Ruby decks, that 1 strength will make her just be banished from anything they have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for 5-drops, of course, Mufasa, I still think he's a 4-of. He's great against Steel, he's great against Ruby, he's great against Amethyst. I think he's great against anything, especially with the number of, 4s and 5s and the Chernabog. I mean, we have a lot of big, nice things that can just come in and make an impact. It's a bit of a gamble, of course, but something. We have 60 characters in this deck, so you will always get something. And that is worth a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? You can play him before a Be Prepared, and you don't have an empty board afterwards. You can play him after a Be Prepared, if they have some more removal, just to be, restore your board. He's just great.
I agree.
And he dodges Big Sisu. They can't Big Sisu him. They have to have something bigger.
Or have a 2-card combo to do it.
Yeah, like he doesn't get got by Brawler Big Sisu. He doesn't get got by Storm. The 3/3, makes him. You need proper removal to get rid of him. And Belle, being a 4/4 instead of a 3/3 is even bigger, even better. Both quests for 2. She has way better stats and a really great on-play effect. When you play this character, move 3 damage. Right?
Yeah, it's a removal spell on a body.
Yeah, and again, I mean, Rapunzel, I just talked about how getting healing from Rapunzel can be hard. However, Belle doesn't have to take the damage from your characters. I mean, if the opponent played a Maui and took out one of your things, and now Maui has 3 damage on him, you could just move that damage away from the Maui to something else of theirs that they want to keep alive, actually.
Yep.
Or for that matter, if something else has some damage on it, you could move 2 damage from that character onto Maui, so the Maui disappears, right?
Yeah, and clear the Maui,
of
course.
Yeah, like usually, like of course, if you can, you might want to remove damage from your own characters, but again, oftentimes you can't. So the fact that you can just move damage between the opponent's characters can net you a lot of chaos that you otherwise wouldn't have. Because you usually don't really care about your opponent's characters being damaged. The opponent doesn't really care about it. They only care about if they are in play or banished. And you suddenly turn 2 damaged characters into one of them being banished by playing Belle.
Super advantageous for sure.
Yeah. That is why she still is a 4-off, but Elsa, sadly, I have cut her to a 2-off, and I know, like, there's a Diablo meta right now. Am I crazy? Like, Elsa is the best answer to Diablo? Well, you could just play Belle also. I mean, you could just move 2 damage onto Diablo. It's the same thing. And generally, you know, we want to quest a lot. We can challenge, but we like to quest. And Belle quests a lot better than Elsa does with her 2 lore and 4/4 stats instead of Elsa's 2/5 and 1 lore.
Very true.
And, you know, Elsa taps something down, but again, we probably want to quest most of the time, so we're not going to make use of that as much. So that's why she was cut to be just a 2-off now, since we needed more space for other things. For example, the big guy Chernobog. He costs 1 less for each character in your discard. Every single card in this deck is a character. So for each card in your discard pile, it costs 1 less. And, you know, Chernobog's followers and Magic Broom and Diablo, what do? They go to the discard pile and draw you a card also. So you're filling up your discard pile by using your 1-drops to cycle through your deck, meaning that you can very easily play Chernobog for just 5 ink, honestly. That's not hard at all to get on turn 5. You can definitely just play an on-curve Chernobog on turn 5. 100%.
For sure.
And if you can't, that probably means that the opponent has not been able to take out your Piglet or White Rose or Pascal, which is a good thing. I mean, if your discard pile isn't filling up, then you're winning already, right? And then you don't need him.
That's for sure. That's always a good sign. If you have nothing in the discard pile, you're probably winning the game.
Yeah, but of course, you know, he can also come out just like from a Mufasa flip, or my favorite is when my opponent sings A Whole New World. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't even have time to empty my hand. I have to discard 3 cards from my hand. Oh shucks. Oh, I'm so disappointed. Oh, what's this? This from the 7 cards that I drew, I got 1 of my 3 Chernobogs. It's almost like I have 3 whole Chernobogs for a reason. And then I just play him for free and win.
Yep, that's a good way. That is a good
way. Like if Steel Song just, like, you know, banishes all of your characters and discards your hand with Whole New World, well, guess what? Now my Chernobog costs 0. Good luck.
It's a freebie.
So just play... Yeah, like, so just for 5 ink, I played Chernobog and Mufasa and pass turn. What do you do? What do you do? I mean... Did you send in Big Cinderella? Nope. Chernobog wins. He's a 9/9.
Sounds good.
If you try to damage him piecemeal, I'm just gonna play down Belle or Rapunzel and start moving damage.
Gotta love it. That will round off.
Insane.
That will round off the new version 2 of Murple.
Absolutely.
And I have brought SpeedCana. So it's Amber Emerald, very low to the ground, has some cards in it that maybe you've seen before, maybe I've played in the past. We'll go over it really quick. We have 4 Daisy, probably the most aggressive card in the game at the moment. It's a 1/4 quest for 2. Gotta love it. All right, 4 Fred. Now Fred's just a 1/1 and he quests for 1, but if he's challenged, you gain 2 lore. So this character has the potential of netting you 3 lore. I love everything about it. Same thing with 1 cost Pegasus, another 4 copies. It's an evasive 1/1, quest for 1. So it's just like chip damage, getting it as quick as we can.
They both hate to be stormed, but again, if they storm your 1-drops, then...
Right. And then we have Baymax. It's a 3/2 that quests for 2. The only difference is, mostly, in the past, this was an uninkable card, one of the hyenas. But this time, we have Baymax because it's inkable. Now, the only thing different is Baymax enters play exerted. But I think that's something I'm okay to take to keep the inkability. Yeah. Now, we also play 4 Go-Go Tamago. Now, 2/2 evasive, quest for 1. Now, when you play this character, you can pay an additional 2 ink and gain lore equal to the amount of damage counters on an opposing character. So this card essentially becomes a finisher in this deck, which is very nice.
So you're saying that the opponent is going to be challenging all of your cards that are going to be questing a lot, and then the opponent is going to be damaged, and then you could play a Go-Go Tamago and just gain free lore.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, the opponent is going to have damage on their stuff, of course, since they've been challenging you.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not challenging us, then we're probably
winning. Exactly, it's the same principle here. Like, if you don't need it, or if you can't play it, that means you're winning, so, you know.
Right. Then we also have a full 4 of Ursula, the 2-drop. It's a 1/3, quest for 1. But when you play it, you look at your opponent's hand, and you make them discard a song from their hand. That helps.
That's very good against the steel decks.
Very prominent steel meta. It's also really good into the Ruby Sapphire deck. So it's just an overall decent card. And then that will lead us to our 3-drops, where we have Moana, who is a 3/4. It quests for 2, and it's just vanilla. Okay? It's because it is a very good statted character. Right? It also helps set up Rapunzel lines, just like Daisy does, and some of the other cards that are further down this list. Now, we also have 4 copies of 3-cost Prince Philip, who is a 3/2 that quests for 2, but has Ward. So you can't really get rid of this guy without playing something like Be Prepared, or basically me having him exerted for you to challenge in. So this guy is just... He's just a pain. He's a nuisance. Then, of course, just like every other Amber deck, we are playing Rapunzel. We are playing 4 full copies of this card. We want to draw all of the cards whenever we can. 1/5, quest for 2. You know. We also play 4 5-cost Lady, who's a 4/4. She quests for 2. She shifts for 3, which is not really important for us because we don't have a shift target. But when you play Lady, you can return up to 2 characters with a cost 2 or less from your discard to your hand, which is really relevant with the 2 costs like Ursula and Go-Go because they have extra abilities to them. I think it's also relevant for everything else in that retrospect. You know, Pegasus being able to do chip damage, Fred allowing us the potential for 3, and then Daisy and Baymax also questing for 2 on their own.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you could just get 2 Daisies back to hand and be like, bam, bam, what now, opponent?
Right, exactly. Then we have 4 copies of Don Carnage at the 5 cost. It's a 4/4, quest for 2, and this gentleman is evasive. And then, kind of like having a counterpart, another 5 cost 4/4 that quests for 2 in Megara. The only difference is the keyword has changed from evasive to ward. Now, Megara also has an additional ability that doesn't really play a factor at all in this deck, but whenever you play a character named Hercules, you may ready this character. So it doesn't really help anything in this color combination because we're not playing the 6-cost Hercules, which is the only Hercules available in this color combination. But maybe in future printings, it will become more relevant in this color pair. And then to round off our last character, it is the 5-cost Pegasus, who is a 3/3, the Quest for 2. Now, Pegasus is evasive, and it shifts for 3. Now, the importance of this is we do run the shift land for Pegasus. So Pegasus says, when you play this character, if you use shift to play this character, all of your characters gain evasive until your next turn. So it's allowing you to have like an alpha strike. You get 2 questing turns in a row, provided that your opponent doesn't have, enough evasive threats to put up with yours, which is really relevant. Then another card that I have happened to liked from the beginning of time, the card's called Just in Time. It's a 3-cost action that allows you to play a 5-cost or less character from your hand for free. So, being that we have 16 5-costs, it allows us to accelerate our questing power and our board position as quick as we can. And the last card in this deck, something that I've liked recently a lot against these pesky steel decks, is Rapunzel's Tower. So it's a 2-cost location, 8 willpower. It only requires 1 to move there, and it gives the characters that are on this location +3 willpower. So it makes it much more difficult to challenge or damage a character to get it to be banished. So you would have to use other
it wouldn't be a
things.
TowelManPurple deck if you didn't have a location. I'm just gonna say it's like it is.
I mean, maybe.
It wouldn't be one of your decks if it didn't have a location.
I have a location and just in time in this one, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Of course, the classic combo.
So there you have it. There's SpeedCana. And of course, once again, Murple from Set 7, version 2.0, after the ban.
Yeah, like, this is my serious competitive deck. Like, I'm bringing this to tournaments. Try it out.
Yeah, I would encourage everyone to try out these decks, especially Murple. I have seen it do wonderful things as long as you're the pilot. It does very naughty things if you're playing against it. It becomes a nuisance. But if you haven't done so already and you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below so you can stay up to date on all the content. We would love for you to reach out and make a comment on something that you liked, maybe something you didn't like, if you think there's something new that we can add to either one of these decks, or if you just want to maybe give us a suggestion of what we should do in a future video. We are open-eared and always responding to everyone. We thank everybody for coming out, and as usual, until the next one, keep innovating.